Good morning, everyone. This is the second week of Lent, and so today I'm going to light 6 candles, and if you want to join me in that, you can either pause the video or maybe you already have your candles lit. The candles slowly get extinguished throughout the process. And in this way, we are playing around with, and in this way, we are dealing with a contrast between the lengthening of days, which the word Lent means, and also we're extinguishing as we get light, as we get closer to the death of Jesus. And so we're just doing little stories about Jesus. And one of the great things about focusing on Jesus during this time is that we're getting more and more pictures of what God is like. And for some of you, if you're little kids, then it's to know what kind of God, what God is like when you're thinking about God, or when we're talking about believing in God or trusting God. And for adults, sometimes it's about, reminding ourselves that some of the pictures that we've had of God, do they match up with the stories of who Jesus is? And so the story today is called The Captain of the Storm. It's from Mark 4 and Matthew 8, the story of Jesus calming the storm. And let me read it, and I want to ask a question this week around fear, because a lot of the story is about being afraid and what we can kind of look at Jesus for when we're feeling afraid. So, the sun was going down. The air was warm and still. "Let's go across the lake," Jesus said to his friends. Jesus had been helping people all day, and now he was tired. So they left the crowds at the shore and set out in a small fishing boat. Jesus climbed into the boat to take a nap. As soon as his head touched the pillow, he fell fast asleep. It was a beautiful evening. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. The friends were chatting happily as they headed out into the middle of the lake. Everything was perfect, just right for a nice, quiet sail. They were only about halfway across when, out of nowhere, whirling winds swept across the lake, fierce and strong, like a hurricane. A blinding flash of lightning lit up the sky. Thunder roared right overhead. The storm blew the water into towering waves that hurled the little boat up, 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 and then sent it hurtling, crashing back down, down, down. The fishing boat was blown and buffeted and tossed and turned, back and forth and up and down and left and right and round and round. And in the middle of the storm, Jesus was sleeping. Now, Jesus' friends had been fishermen all their lives, but in all their years fishing on this lake, they had never once seen a storm like this one. No matter how hard they struggled with their ropes and sails, they couldn't control their boat. This storm was too big for them. But the storm wasn't too big for Jesus. "Help!" they screamed. "Wake up! Quick, Jesus!" Jesus opened his eyes. "Rescue us! Save us!" they shrieked. "Don't you care?" Of course Jesus cared, and this was the very reason he had come, to rescue them and to save them. Jesus stood up and spoke to the storm. "Hush," he said. That's all. And the strangest thing happened. The wind and the waves recognized Jesus' voice. They had heard it before, of course. It was the same voice that made them in the very beginning. They listened to Jesus and they did what he said. Immediately the wind stopped. The water calmed down. It glittered innocently in the moonlight and lapped quietly against the side of the boat as if nothing had happened. The little boat bobbed gently up and down. There was a deep stillness and a great quiet all around. Then Jesus turned to his wind-torn friends. "Why were you scared?" he asked. "Did you forget who I am? Did you believe your fears instead of me?" Jesus' friends were quiet as the wind and the waves, and into their hearts came a different kind of storm. What kind of man is this? They asked themselves anxiously. Even the winds and the waves obey him, they said, because they didn't understand. They didn't realize yet that Jesus was God. Jesus' friends had been so afraid. They had only seen the big waves. They had forgotten that if Jesus was with them, then they had nothing to be afraid of. No matter how small their boat or how big the storm. This story is a great one because I think we all get afraid. And it doesn't matter if you're young or old or somewhere in the middle, we all get afraid. And we think, this storm is too big for me. What kind of storm do you feel right now where you feel you're getting tossed and turned all around and you feel like it might be too big for you? And can you imagine the storm and you being in a boat and Jesus, inviting Jesus to be there with you and see what he has to say about it? Jesus asked his friends, "Did you forget who I am?" And I wonder if we forget who Jesus is. If we forget that there is a God that not only knows our fears, but when we look at God, then God doesn't seem to be afraid of the same things that we're afraid of. And why is that? Shouldn't Jesus have been afraid in that boat? So as with this journey of Lent and thinking about things we can let go of and shed and ways we can make space in our life, I wonder if today we might think about some of the things that we're afraid of. And as we think about the things that we're afraid of, to just wonder if Jesus is afraid. And if Jesus isn't afraid, why is Jesus not afraid? And if Jesus isn't afraid, is there a way that I can tap into that? Is there a way that I can maybe invite that, invite Jesus to speak hush, maybe invite Jesus to help me and be present with me in the middle of my storm. So if you want to take a moment in your home and just talk with each other about some of the things that you're afraid of right now, and then just invite Jesus into the boat with you in a time of prayer, or just say it out loud. Okay, Jesus, come and show us who you are and help calm this storm that we are in. I want to thank you for joining me today.